evening, everyone. Welcome to Readings in Isolation. My name is Saman Giraud, and I'll be reading for you tonight again from 1001 Nights. I hope you all had a wonderful day. I wanted to say something and I just forgot. It happens, I guess. Let me just sit comfortably. I have this thing where I can just sit when I'm reading, like a regular human being. Excuse me. That's better. Oop. Thank you for the hearts. Yeah, very elegant, wasn't I? All right, let's start, shall we? This is, by the way, a lovely, lovely love story. Oh. Enjoy the reading. Now when it was the 113th night, she said, "It hath reached me, O auspicious king, that the youth continued to Taj al-Muluk." So I raised my head to see whence this kerchief had fallen, when my eyes met those of the lady who owned these gazelles. And lo, she was looking out of a wicket in a lattice of brass, and never saw my eyes a fairer than she. And in fine my tongue faileth to describe her beauty. When she caught sight of me looking at her, she put her forefinger into her mouth, then joined her middle finger and her witness finger, and laid them on her bosom, between her breasts. After which she drew in her head and closed the wicket shutter, and went her ways. Thereupon fire broke out in, and was heaped upon my heart, and greater grew my smart. The one side cost me 1,000 sighs, and I abode perplexed, for that I heard no word by her spoken, nor understood the meaning of her token. I looked at the window a second time, but found it shut, and waited patiently till sundown, but sensed no sound, and saw no one in view. So when I despaired of seeing her again, I rose from my place, and taking up the handkerchief, opened it, when there breathed from it a scent of musk, which caused me so great delight, I became as one in paradise. Then I spread it before me, and out dropped from it a delicate little scroll, whereupon I opened the paper, which was perfumed with delicious perfume, and therein were writ these couplets. I sent to him a scroll that bore my plaint of love, writ in fine delicate hand, for writing proves man's skill. Then quoth to me my friend, "Why is thy writing thus? So fine, so thin drawn, 'tis to read unsuitable." Quoth I, "For that I'm fine drawn, wasted, waxed thin. Thus lovers writ should be, for so love wills his will." And after casting my eyes on the beauty of the kerchief, I saw upon one of its two borders the following couplets worked in with a needle. "His cheek down writteth, or fair for the goodly scribe, 2 lines on table of his face in Rayhan hand. Oh, the wild marvel of the moon, when comes he forth, and when he bends, oh shame to every willow wand." And on the opposite border these 2 couplets were traced. "His cheek down writeth on his cheek with ambergris on pearl, 2 lines like jet on apple leon, the goodliest design. Slaughter is in those languid eyne, whenever a glance they deal, and drunkenness in either cheek, and not in any wine." When I read the poetry on the handkerchief, the flames of love darted into my heart, and yearning and pining redoubled their smart. So I took the kerchief and the scroll and went home, knowing no means to win my wish, but that I was incapable of conducting love affairs, and inexperienced in interpreting hints and tokens. Nor did I reach my home ere the night was far spent, and I found the daughter of my uncle sitting in tears. But as soon as she saw me, she wiped away the drops and came up to me and took off my walking dress and asked me the reason of my absence, saying, "All the folk, emirs and notables and merchants and others, assembled in our house, and the Qazi and the witnesses were also present at the appointed time. They ate and tarried a while, sitting to await thine appearance for the writing of the contract, and when they despaired of thy presence, they dispersed and went their ways. And indeed," she added, "thy father raged with exceeding wrath by reason of this, and swore that he would not celebrate our marriage save during the coming year, for that he hath spent on these festivities great store of money." And she ended by asking, "What hath befallen thee this day to make thee delay till now? And why hast thou allowed that to happen which happened because of thine absence?" Answered I, O daughter of mine uncle, question me not concerning what hath befallen me." Then I told her all that had passed from beginning to end, and showed her the handkerchief. She took the scroll and read what was written therein, and tears ran down her cheeks, and she repeated these sequence: "Who saith that love at first of free will came, say him thou liest, love be grief and grame. Yet shall such grame and grief entail no shame, all annals teach us one thing and the same: good current coin, clipped coin, we may not keep. And please thou say there's pleasure in thy pain, find fortune's playful gambols glad and fain, or happy blessings in th' unhappy's bane, that joy or grieve with equal might and main. Twixt phrase and antiphrase am all a heap. But he with all whose days are summer bright, whom maids ever greet with smiling lips' delight, whom spicy breezes fan in every sight, and wins whatever he wills that happy wight, white-blooded coward heart should never keep." Then she asked me, "What said she, and what signs made she to thee?" I answered, she uttered not a word, but put her forefinger in her mouth, then joining it to her middle finger, laid both fingers on her bosom and pointed to the ground. Thereupon she withdrew her head and shut the wicket, and after that I saw her no more. However, she took my heart with her, so I sat till sundown, expecting her again to look out of the window, but she did it not. And when I despaired of her, I rose from my seat and came home. This is my history, and I beg thee to help me in this my sore calamity." Upon this she raised her face to me and said, "O son of mine uncle, if thou soughtest my eye, I would tear it for thee from its eyelids. And perforce I cannot but aid thee to thy desire, and aid her also to her desire, for she is whelmed in passion for thee, even as thou for her." Asked I, "And what is the interpretation of her signs?" And Azizah answered, "As for the putting her finger in her mouth, it showed that thou art to her as her soul to her body, and that she would bite into union with thee with her wisdom teeth. As for the kerchief, it betokeneth that her breath of life is bound up in thee. As for the placing her two fingers on her bosom, between her breasts, its explanation is that she saith, The sight of thee may dispel my grief. For know, O my cousin, that she loveth thee and she trusteth in thee. This is my interpretation of her signs, and could I come and go at will, I would bring thee and her together in shortest time, and curtain you both with my skirt." Hearing these words, I thanked her, continued the young merchant, for speaking thus, and said to myself, I will wait 2 days. So I abode 2 days in the house, neither going out nor coming in, neither eating nor drinking, but I laid my head on my cousin's lap, whilst she comforted me and said to me, Be resolute, and of good heart, and hope for the best. And Shahrazad perceived the dawn of day and ceased to say her permitted say. Now when it was the 114th night, she said, "It hath reached me, O auspicious king, that the youth pursued to Taj al-Muluk, and when the 2 days were past, she said to me, Be of good cheer and clear thine eyes of tears, and take courage to dress thyself and go to her, according to thy tryst." Then she rose and changed my clothes and perfumed me with incense smoke. So I braced myself up and hardened my heart and went out and walked on till I came to the by-street, where I sat down on the bench a while. And behold, the wicket suddenly opened, and I looked up, and seeing her, fell down in a swoon. When I revived, I called up resolution and took courage and gazed again at her, and again became insensible to the world around me. Then I came to myself, and looking at her, saw that she held in hand a mirror and a red kerchief. Now when she caught my glance, she bared her forearms and opened her 5 fingers and smote her breast with palm and digits. And after this, she raised her hands and, holding the mirror outside the wicket, she took the red kerchief and retired it into the room with it, but presently returned and, putting out her hand with the kerchief, led it down towards the lane 3 several times, dipping it and raising it as often. Then she wrung it out and folded it in her hands, bending down her head the while, after which she drew it in from the lattice and, shutting the wicket shutter, went away without a single word. Nay, she left me confounded, and knowing not what signified her signs, I tarried sitting there till supper time, and did not return home till near midnight. And there I found the daughter of my uncle with her cheek propped in her hand and her eyelids pouring forth tears, and she was repeating these couplets: Woe's me, why should the blamer gar thee blaming throw? How be consoled for thee that art so tender, bow? Bright being, on my vitals dost thou prey and drive my heart before platonic passions forced to bow. Thy Turk-like glances havoc dealing core of me, as furbished sword thin grounded curve could never show. Thou weight'st me down with weight of care, while I have not strength even to bear my shift, so weakness lays me low. Indeed, I weep blood tears to hear the blamer say, The lashes of thy lover's eye shall pierce thee through. Thou hast, my prince of loveliness, an overseer who wrongs me, and a groom who beats me down with brow. He fully lies who says all loveliness belongeth to Joseph, and thy loveliness is many a Joe. I force myself to turn from thee in deadly fright of spies, and what the force that turns away my sight. When I heard her verse, cark increased and care redoubled on me, and I fell down in a corner of our house, whereupon she arose in haste, and coming to me, lifted me up, and took off my outer clothes, and wiped my face with her sleeve. Then she asked me what had befallen me, and I described all that had happened from her. Quoth she, O my cousin, as for her sign to thee with her palm and 5 fingers, its interpretation is return after 5 days. And the putting forth of her head out of the window, and her gestures with the mirror, and the letting down and raising up and wringing out of the red kerchief signify, sit in the dyer's shop till my messenger come to thee. When I heard her words, fire flamed up in my heart, and I exclaimed, O daughter of my uncle, thou seest sooth in this thine interpretation, for I saw in the street the shop of a Jew dyer. Then I wept, and she said, Be of good cheer and strong heart. Of a truth others are occupied with love for years, and endure with constancy the ardour of passion, whilst thou hast but a week to wait. Why then this impatience? Thereupon she went on cheering me with comfortable talk, and brought me food. So I took a mouthful and tried to eat, but could not. And I abstained from meat and drink, and estranged myself from the solace of sleep, till my colour waxed yellow, and I lost my good looks. For I had never been in love before, nor had I ever savoured the ardour of passion save this time. So I fell sick, and my cousin also sickened, on my account. But she would relate to me, by way of consolation, stories of love and lovers every night till I fell asleep. And whenever I awoke, I found her wakeful for my sake, with tears running down her cheeks. This ceased not till the 5 days were past, when my cousin rose and warmed some water and bathed me with it. Then she dressed me in my best and said to me, "Repair to her, and Allah fulfill thy wish, and bring thee to thy desire of thy beloved." So I went out, and ceased not walking on, till I came to the upper end of the by-street. As it was Sabbath, I found the dyer's shop locked, and sat before it till I heard the call to mid-afternoon prayer. Then the sun yellowed, and the muezzins chanted the call to sundown prayer, and the night came. But I saw no sign, nor heard one word, nor knew any news of her. So I feared for my life, sitting there alone, and at last I arose and walked home, reeling like a drunken man. When I reached the house, I found my cousin Aziza standing, with one hand grasping a peg driven into the wall, and the other on her breast, and she was sighing and groaning and repeating these couplets: "The longing of an Arab lass, forlorn of kith and kind, who to Hijazian willow wand and myrtle doth incline, and who, when meeting caravan, shall with love low set light, to bivouac fire and bring for drink her tears of pain and pine, exceeds not mine for him, nor more devotion shows, but he, seeing my heart is holy, his spurns love as sin in thine." Now when she had finished her verse, she turned to me, and seeing me, wiped away her tears and my tears with her sleeve. Then she smiled in my face and said, "O my cousin, Allah grant the enjoyment of that which he hath given thee. Why didst thou not pass the night by the side of thy beloved? And why hast thou not fulfilled thy desire of her?" When I heard her words, I gave her a kick in the breast, and she fell down in the saloon, and her brow struck upon the edge of the raised pavement and hit against a wooden peg therein. I looked at her and saw that her forehead was cut open and the blood running. And Shahrazad perceived the dawn of day and ceased saying her permitted say. What a story. I will definitely tune in tomorrow and listen to Jana. I hope so. I hope you do so too. I hope you enjoyed the reading, everyone. Thank you so much for tuning in. I wish you a pleasant night wherever you are. Good morning, good day, good afternoon. Sending you much love, and as usual, remember to go inwards instead of outwards. Good night, everyone, and I will see you next week.